maximize the tax benefits of real estate, which are like way above any other asset class and very exciting. I mean, using things like cost segregation, accelerated depreciation, just even normal depreciation and expensing, like that's why there's a reason why we call cash flow tax-free income, because you should be having a positive cash flow on your property, but you're reporting a loss on that, so you're not paying any taxes on that. And that can be dramatic. That is dramatic, especially if you're offsetting taxable liability from other income sources, because taxes are the highest expense we're all going to encounter in our life. And if you can reduce that or eliminate that.
Are you looking to achieve massive success in your life without dealing with costly investment nightmares? If yes, then this is the podcast for you. Here, we provide engineers and busy professionals all the secrets and strategies to create multiple streams of income, build generational wealth, and live a meaningful life by design. Here's your host, Ted Patel.
Welcome, Decoding Cashflow listeners. Today we have pleasure to bring to you Zach Lehman. Zach Lehman is a founder and CEO of Rent to Retirement. He's a seasoned real estate investor who has accumulated large portfolio of rental properties across multiple states. And Zach has been investing in real estate while working as an optometric and captain at U.S. Air Force. Now he has retired from his career in medicine and focusing solely on professional investments in real estate. Thank you, Zach, for being on the show. Welcome.
Hey, Ted, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
All right. So, Zach, here on Decoding Cashflow, we not only focus on the real estate investment strategies, but also provide a holistic approach to personal growth in addition to the financial gains. So let's start with your background. How did you, from being in a medical field, from being in a U.S. Air Force, how did you get into real estate? Just share us the story.
Yeah, I think like many people, that are interested in real estate and that ultimately develop a business around real estate and do that full time, they don't start there. Very similar to myself, I was interested in investing in real estate. It was very interesting to me. I like the idea of having a tangible asset and all the benefits that real estate provided, and compounding that over time to build financial independence. That was very interesting to me. Even from early on. So, I mean, I just, alongside of doing, my regular profession as an optometrist and starting out as a captain in the Air Force and then exiting the military and working in private practice and owning multiple private practices, during that entire time, I invested in real estate. First house I bought was a duplex, lived in half, rented out the other half. And that was my first year out of professional school. When I joined the military. And so, I just got the bug then, and I kept investing every single year since then. And it was very, it's been a long journey, but I've learned a lot throughout the process, and it's always been intriguing to me. The beautiful thing about real estate is it's never boring. It is challenging at times, but there's always something new you can be learning. I view real estate investing as a lifelong journey, but it compounds your knowledge as well as your financial gain, I guess, through net worth and cash flow. It compounds over time. And so eventually we just got to the point, my wife and I, because she's also an optometrist, but through about a decade or less of really just intentional investing, we were able to replace our high income as doctors through real estate investing, and able to retire from that career path and focus solely on real estate investing. And it's just been interesting to us. So yeah.
That sounds great, man. This is very inspiring for some of the W-2 employees who are willing to get into real estate, but doesn't find time how to, or maybe doesn't find a mentor or someone who can teach them how to get into real estate. Was there any specific time or moment when you felt like, okay, now from medical field, I need to switch to real estate? Or is what like, it was like, much before in your career, before you began your medical field, you were inclined towards the real estate?
Well, I've always been interested in real estate, even in college. I think, when whenever I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, as many people have,
Yeah.
we call it the Purple Bible.
Yeah.
But I think that kind of sparked the thought process of how to think about money for me. But I wasn't able to like financially actually get a loan until I actually had income, as a working professional. So that's when I started. But this was not a scenario where I disliked what we were doing in the medical field.
Yeah.
Like we still operate in optometry. I still have my active license, but it's on a volunteer only basis. And so we give back. I still enjoy helping people see. I mean, some people, it's interesting. They come back to me and say, or they find out I'm not practicing anymore. And they're like, oh, well, I'm glad that you found out that your passion wasn't in eye care, or like that wasn't a good fit for you, or whatever the case is. And I'm like, that's not it at all. I enjoy helping people see, but I also enjoy, creating a large scale business and just doing more for my family, doing more for society in general, doing more for my children and my legacy than just working as a practitioner, right? I can still do that, but still grow something grand. And that was, so I mean, to your question about like, was there a turning point? Not really. I mean, I scaled back. It wasn't like an immediate, like, switch. I mean, there was a period of like 5 years where, okay, I went down from working 5 days a week to 4 to 3 to 2. And then I was like working 1 day every other week. And I was like, I might as well just volunteer, right? Because my time is actually, I'm losing money being here as an optometrist versus what I could make in the real estate space. And so that was kind of the transition we ultimately made, but we still operate in the volunteer basis, and enjoy what we did in the medical profession. And it's just like real estate just compounds, though. It compounds. It's beautiful. We call it horizontal income because you earn income while you're sleeping, laying horizontal, right? Versus like in a medical profession, like you're paid for our time in the chair, or paid, when our business hours are open, even though we're employing other doctors, like we're limited to some degree. Whereas real estate, you're not. It's a compounding effect over time.
Absolutely. Well said. If your income doesn't work while you're sleeping, then you'll be working all your life, right? So spot on that one. So you started investing in real estate before 10 to 12 years, right? And you started with single family homes, rented them out. At what stage are you in right now? Like what is your main strategies right now? What is your main focus right now? Have you moved out from single families to multifamilies? And I do see in your bio, like you're also working on the construction projects, and have teams all across I would say more than 10 to 15 states. So give us a little background on your current business.
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I'm going to separate out like two. I'm going to do hopefully do a little bifurcation of like our active business rent to retirement versus our personal investing. Okay. Because those are kind of two different avenues. So with our active business rent to retirement, we are a turnkey company, a turnkey provider. And so basically what that means is we assist the average investor and individual investors with building their own personal portfolio where we handle everything for them. Right. We identify the best markets throughout the U.S. They have things like landlord-friendly legislation, low taxes, population growth, economic growth, have things like rent price to home price ratios above that 1%. So, I mean, you can positively cash flow on properties, but also have future appreciation and growth. And then we go into these markets and we build our teams from property management, insurance agents, finding lenders, contractors, all the above. So someone can come in and basically say, hey, I want to buy a property that's going to provide all the financial benefits. I want to have ownership of that property and cash flow every single month without having to like manage that property and oversee a team. Like we're doing all that for you. And it allows someone that is like a high, professional and that most of our clients are people that are working, and earning good money in the profession. They like real estate. They like the financial benefits of real estate, but yeah, they don't have the time or energy or experience of like, hey, I want to invest across the country in all these excellent markets where there's great opportunity. And I just want, someone to do it for me and partner with them. So that's what our business does. And in that business, we mainly focus on single family and small multifamily 2 to 4 units. And we do that because I truly feel like that's the most sustainable that's the most sustainable real estate there is. It's a, it's a
Mhm.
fundamental need. You're providing housing for people. That's not going to go away, especially if you're in an area that has an undersupply of housing and in a large demand. And, you're kind of in that middle B class area that we operate in, where it's just your bread and butter housing. Like that is the most sustainable real estate investment you can make, and predictable. And I also think it has the best upside. Single family and multifamily. That's small multifamily. That's exactly where we got started. Just buying, as I mentioned, my first house was a duplex, and I house hacked it, lived in half, rented out the other half. And we've grown our portfolio and, to a large enough, scale where we were able to replace our active income. And then from there, we exchanged. We did things like 1031 exchanges, and when we parlayed our profits from single family, small multi into more commercial assets. And I think that's the track that most people follow, that are our investors. Like, we want to get them to, say, 10 or 20 doors or whatever. Maybe they're at $5,000 or $10,000 a month passive income. And then at that point, once they have a good foundation, they feel very comfortable. Well, maybe we partner with them to help them scale up to a larger multifamily, because they have that good experience and foundation. They have more lending options because they can go to banks and show that they have a track record of being a successful investor. And then they scale into larger asset classes. So that's the typical transition that both we followed and that most of our investors follow. But on a personal level, we still own a lot of residential, again, because I think that is the most sustainable, predictable type of asset to own. So we own a lot of residential real estate, but we've actually transitioned a lot into like scaling and 1031ing and trading our equity up into commercial, industrial and retail centers. I think we own about 9 retail centers right now that are between, like, your local shopping centers that have 4 to 6 tenants typically. That's what we own a lot of, as well as luxury short-term rentals. And so on the personal side, our portfolio is about 60 million right now. And that cash flow is about 1.5 million annually. That's net cash flow. And that's just us trading up our real estate over time.
Yeah, what a journey, man. So like, talking about the single family and small multifamilies for the investors, right? What is the deal structure normally you have? Like, investors are 50%, 20%, or is there multiple investor in these small deals, or you have one single investor and you join them as a general partner owing like 20, 25%? How is that deal structured?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Ted. So we're not syndicators. We don't pool capital. We help people in buying their own portfolio. And so in that scenario, like, we go out and find a market, we find dilapidated houses, or we find areas where we want to build that have a need for housing, right? So we're a builder and a land developer in that case. And so we make our money through building and developing or rehabbing houses. And then we stabilize them with the tenant, we manage them for the client, and then we sell them to our investor database. So you have the clients, our investors, have 100% ownership of the property. You're the only investor, unless you personally decide to partner with other people. So that means you are qualifying for financing, you're taking out the loan, you're putting the down payment down. The typical deal structure, I would say, most people are using conventional financing, your Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans, although you don't have to. We don't care whatever loans you use. We have plenty of lending resources for if you're a foreign national and need that loan structure. If you're investing through a self-directed IRA, through a retirement vehicle, if you can't qualify for conventional, whatever the case is, it doesn't matter to us what type of financing you use, or cash, whatever. But typically, most people are putting 20% down on single family, 25% down on multifamily, and you're owning the property. So you get 100% of the benefits of property ownership, but we're handling all the legwork for you. So you're taking out your debt. I would say the average deal is between $150,000 to $250,000. So call it $200,000 as the average home price. This could be new construction or a rehabbed house, either in the Midwest or Southeast. Some of our top markets right now are like Kansas City, Missouri, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Ohio, Indianapolis. Those are like our main Midwestern and Southeastern markets, which I think are the better markets right now because they have more upside potential, although they are a little bit more expensive. This would be, areas around like Huntsville and Birmingham, Alabama, or down near the coast. We do a lot in Florida. Florida is our most active market throughout the entire state. Florida is a great market because you can come in and you have immediate equity and cash flow and strong growth potential. So a typical deal structure with $200K, you're putting 20% down. So, and sometimes you can put 10% down or whatever. So you're, 25 to 50K down. your cash flow is, probably $500-600 a month at net. So could be a cash on cash return of anywhere from 12 to 18%. That's just on the cash flow. And then you obviously have the tax benefits, the depreciation, appreciation, debt pay down, et cetera. So
nice. And of course, it's for someone who is in Jersey. I do know, the benefits of investing out the state, because here in New Jersey, it's hard to find deals which cash flows, very hard. Normally what I started with investing in single family. I normally buy in Jersey City, in New Jersey, I started buying properties from auction, courthouse. All right. And those properties, they were pretty good at cash flowing. But if I go and find deals in the regular market through MLS or through direct mailing, anything, it's hard to find deals that cash flows. Very hard.
Yeah, unless you're putting, 40-50% down on them, so it's a dramatic. I mean, I would say and I'm glad you brought that up, Ted. That's the majority of our investors are people that they're either busy professionals, they don't want to own real estate, they don't have the time, or they live in an expensive market, right? I mean, and this was a catalyst for us as we grow our own portfolio, is understanding like, hey, maybe our own market, even though that's what we're comfortable with, maybe that's not where the best opportunity is. And so we started to look at different markets, and yes, it took time and energy to build teams and systems in these areas, and make sure we're working with the right property manager and the right contractors. But ultimately that allowed us to really scale our portfolio, because, hey, if you open up your opportunity to just like the US in general, knowing that you're going to invest where the numbers make the most sense, then that's really going to help you get ahead, I think, and expedite your success. Because a lot of us, to your point, we live in expensive markets where you can't find properties that cash flow, or maybe the legislation is not to your favor to be a long-term landlord. I mean, some of these states, I think Jersey would fall into that category potentially of like, it's hard to evict people, right? And so, and taxes are so.
Yeah. And in addition to eviction, right? There are certain counties in Jersey which has a rent control. So it's stuck, you can't increase the rent to the market rent. So that's why we pivoted, to large multifamilies later on, so that we can invest out of state, and we can have a proper, property managers taking care of them. Because it was hard if me personally start buying single family houses around the state without having a proper team in place, it might be hard for us to manage. So we pivoted to multifamilies, so we can have dedicated managers taking care of the property. That's great. Great. So Zach, what do you see how do you see the current market situation, and what do you think about the future of the small multifamilies and single home? Where do you see the price going?
Yeah, it's interesting because we have, just over this past year, right at about a year now is when we started to see interest rates start to increase. And I believe like over this past 8 to 12 months, we've had the most dramatic, not the highest interest rates, because if anyone looks back at the 80s and they see interest rates in the 16 and 18%, it brings you back down to reality. But we've at least had the highest or the quickest increase in interest rates over the shortest period of time. And, it's been challenging for a lot of people. I think that's also evened out the market. Obviously, the Fed's doing that to battle inflation, which is at like 40-year high. Now inflation's coming down. But, and I won't get on my soapbox here, but obviously in high inflationary environments, you want to not have cash. You want to have physical assets where inflation helps rents and things like this go up over time. So you want to invest your money.
Yeah.
But I think with where we've seen the interest rates, I think we're pretty much at the peak right now. No crystal ball, but my opinion, and also looking at what the Fed is saying and data points, I think we're pretty much at the peak for interest rates, and we'll start to see some slight decrease in interest rates throughout Q4 of 2023 and into 2024, but maybe not dramatic. I mean, maybe we see a point or whatever. It's now we're back to where interest rates should be in all reality. We all got spoiled over the past 3 to 4 years of seeing historically low interest rates. But I mean, as far as the influence on the market, it's very interesting because, and this is geographically dependent. Okay. There's not this US wide like overall market shift. Obviously the interest rates are taking some pressure off of the buyers and making it more of a buyer market versus a seller market, which is a good thing because it's been a crazy seller market. But we kind of, a lot of people anticipated when we have this crazy increase in interest rates to see prices dropping dramatically, and they just haven't in most markets that we're focusing on. But I think that goes back to investing for fundamentals. Time on market is taking a little bit longer. Maybe there's some markets that have a slight dip or stagnation, but like, for instance, in Southwest Florida, a lot of the areas that we invest, we still are seeing a 10 to 14% appreciation year after year, seeing a 15% rental increase year after year, and that has everything to do with supply and demand. And so it's there's a huge undersupply of housing. Housing is not being built at the speed that they needed to. There's more and more people moving to these type of states, and I think as long as you're investing in those type of areas fundamentally, you'll do very, very well long term. Regardless of interest rates. Don't sit on the sideline, just because interest rates are high, right? Like that is a number, that is a point in time, and you'll potentially have the chance to refi in the future. Yep. Or once interest rates, I do know this though, once interest rates start to drop and go the other direction, like we're going to see this influx of buyers that have been sitting on the sideline. That's not the way to invest. Trying to time the market. It's time in market, not time the market. Yep. And so I think we'll see a large increase of buyer activity, and it may be more challenging to get good deals that you can buy right now.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So
as long as the cash flow, you have a positive cash flow makes sense, buy it. Yep. Just wait for the rate to drop, refinance it. You'll have more cash flow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're still actively buying this year, and we're still being. I mean, our main strategy, because you asked on this, but I didn't touch on this. Like a lot of our strategy right now is actually buying as much as we can for tax purposes. We still have cost segregation and accelerated depreciation available at 80% this year. Next year it goes to 60%. So yep. Like if you're looking to get a huge tax deduction and you can qualify as an RE Pro, or I mean, the tax benefits alone are worth buying. Like the interest rates don't even matter in that realm, right? Like our goal is to buy enough real estate to wipe out our active income from all sources and create a loss every single year that carries forward. We've been so aggressive over the past 3 to 4 years buying property that we probably wiped out our future income for the next 2 to 3 years as far as taxable liability. So
absolutely nothing better than wiping out 30% of your tax.
Yeah. We're a little bit higher than 30%, but yeah.
Yeah, on an average. Yeah, that's true. So Zach, in your 10 years of investments career, right? Let our listeners know about one of the best deal that you encountered and one of the worst deal that you encountered, and how did you overcome that deal?
God, well, I have no shortage of bad deals to share. So, I mean, that's just part of the journey. Yeah. But I mean, I would actually have to say, the worst deals or the most impactful deals that were challenging is actually where we formed bad partnerships with people, or we actually funded other people. Like for instance, there was a gentleman that we funded a lot of his projects, and then we ended up being an LP on one of his larger projects that had a 5-year kind of projection. And this is in the millions of dollars that we funded to him, and everything went fine. We were paid out our interest rate on a monthly basis for 5 years, and then it came time for him to exit that deal after 5 years. And we really just let him be. We weren't like watching the progress. I mean, we got progress updates and things like that, but we weren't really watching the project. Come to find out, he's way underwater and files bankruptcy on it. And so, we ended up getting only about 10% of our money back out of that deal. And that was a huge loss. And that was unfortunate. And so I guess my advice or the lessons learned from that is when you're giving money, this is true of even buying your own real estate, but especially when you're giving money to other people, be extremely conscious about knowing the provider, knowing who the GPs are, right? Looking at their track record, asking them, let's look at properties that you've completed that have come full cycle, that you've exited successfully, and evaluate those. And hopefully there's multiple case studies, looking at their track record, running background checks on those people. making sure that they are a solid operator with a track record, and then also evaluating the deal, right? And maybe that's a little bit over your head to be able to fully evaluate the deal. But if you have a good operator that has a track record, you should be good there. You know, but some of the best, I mean, and I have my own deals that have went south too, but at least when I like own a property myself, like I can be involved, I can take control and fix that deal.
Absolutely.
Whereas I have no control in the previous scenario. So, one of the best deals that we did was, and we got a lot of new wins, like in the construction space, man, just over the past few years. It's like, if you just bought a property in the right area, you did well. Just with appreciation. You know, we developed, you know, over 1,000 houses in the past three years that, like, and this is for investors, not for us, but every single one of those investors, you know, it is about a 1.5 to 2 year construction process for them. But every single one of them had over 6 figures of equity when it was done. And that was a huge win. And so they were able to do a cash out refinance and pull their money back out and still cash flow or sell the property again. You know, I mean, we're talking double and triple digit returns within 1 to 2 years. The construction market has slowed a little bit, so those opportunities are still available, but maybe not to that degree. We just did a short-term rental out here in Colorado. That's where I'm at. I'm in Denver. And this is another market too, where we don't really invest residential because same thing. It's an expensive market. We can just do better in other parts of the country. But we did do a short-term rental out here in the mountains that we bought for, it was on the market for just under $5 million. We negotiated it for like 8 months. It was this huge house, 10,000 square foot house. It needed a ton of work because it was like 30 years old and not a single thing was updated in it. And so no one wanted to touch it. You know, and it was operating as a short-term rental that maybe did about just under 300,000 annually. And the first year we bought it, we negotiated down to 3.2 million. We put about 300K into it. I used 10% down loan. I used a second home loan to buy it because we personally use it as well, just with my family. And then, you know, in year one, we were able to increase the income by using dynamic pricing and doing some of these repairs to over $500,000. So we'll have, like, when it's all said and done, we'll have like a 30+% return on investment on that one within a year. And then we ran a cost segregation, right? And we did an accelerated depreciation on it. So when you factor that in, we're like, you know, 400% ROI with that. So anyways, I could go on and on, but I'll stop there.
With this kind of experience, you know, as you said, there are many lessons to learn, many good, bad deals that come across. It's how you get over it, how you take control of that and turn it into positive, strategies, you know.
Absolutely.
Business. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Zach, you have been investing in all different states. Which are the 3 prominent states that you see has a largest or the biggest upside?
I think Florida is number 1 for sure. I know we talked about that, but just from my personal experience, like, I mean, Florida checks all the boxes. It's got no state income tax. It's business and landlord friendly. It's got good weather and good tax structures, and it's an affordable cost of living. So people are just moving to Florida like in flocks. Like last year, Florida had the highest percentage growth last year. Texas beat out Florida in terms of actual numbers of population growth, but Florida percentage wise was number 1. And so people are just moving there in groves. It's still, I mean, we're not talking like Orlando, Miami, because those are very expensive markets, but in most parts of the state, you know, there's areas where you can still buy a brand new, you know, 2,000 square foot, 4-bed, 3-bath for, you know, under $300,000. And that property is going to rent out for almost $3,000 a month. That's almost a 1% in an A-class area in brand new construction. And it's going to have strong growth. And so I think just the numbers make all the sense in the world. People are concerned about like hurricanes and things like this, but those are for people that just aren't unfamiliar. That's why you have insurance, and it's a large state that has different things. Like, you just need to educate yourself on that. After Florida, I would say, and that is where we are the most active right now. And throughout the whole state, but especially like Southwest Florida, like Cape Coral, for example, and Lehigh Acres and Fort Myers and Naples, Tampa. But the areas other than that, I think Alabama, there's a lot of, so there's a common theme, like Sun Belt area. This is where people are moving generally. Alabama, areas around Huntsville and Birmingham, kind of in between Huntsville and Birmingham, we're building a lot there. I think there's a lot of opportunity. You can get brand new construction in the mid to low 200s there. a little bit more of an
Mhm.
affordable market. And after that, if I had to choose a third market, I may, again, Texas might come to mind, although Texas property taxes are a little bit higher. I would actually choose, I'll go a Midwestern one for number 3, and that's Kansas City, Missouri. Kansas City, Missouri is kind of like, when you think Midwest, it's kind of bread and butter, just B class, $150,000 like B class house that's going to cash flow at a 15% cash on cash return. But I think actually Kansas City has some strong growth with businesses and Fortune 500 companies coming in there. Like we've typically seen double-digit appreciation in both rents and home values over the past few years, and I think that's bound to continue. And so I think that's probably the strongest Midwestern market. And again, you can buy houses for much more affordable than you can in the Sun Belt.
That's true. Recently, we have also started exploring, Kansas City for multifamilies. We see, the per door unit prices are pretty, low compared to the other states, and there is a much more chances of rent growth, appreciation in Kansas City.
Yeah.
So that's good. Yeah. The other thing, now, as we come to the end of the show, right, the clock is ticking, so maybe we can just go to our final round. Anything else before we go to a final round that you want to share with our listeners? Anything specific any specific strategies or anything you would like to say?
I'll run through this real quickly because I just recorded this on our show. So yeah, if anyone wants to learn more about rent to retirement, just go to our website, Rent to Retirement. That's renttoretirement.com. You can learn about, turnkey investing, get some market data, look at all our social media. It's all there on the website. Reach out to our team and be happy to have a consultation with you. We don't charge investors anything. By the way, we make our money through building and rehabbing houses. But I just recorded this on our channel of like looking back over the past decade, and I've been investing for longer than a decade, but I mean, seriously, intentionally over the past decade, to create 7 figures of passive income, net cash flow. Like I was really focusing on these 5 things. So I'll just share this briefly. The first thing that I did is I started investing and I never stopped. So just like starting, I didn't get analysis paralysis. I think that's really important. You just start, even when I hit obstacles and lost money, I just kept investing. The second thing I did was be very intentional on where I invested. And I mentioned this previously, but like just opening my eyes to investing in different locations was dramatically important for me, because that allowed us to really scale and take our investing to the next level and retire from our active. It's just like not investing locally and branching out to other markets. The third thing I did was use all my resources. So this is like pooling money from other people, borrowing money, investing through, like converting to a self-directed IRA or solo 401k. I took out a HELOC on my primary residence. I did 1031 exchanges. I used all the resources that I could, lines of credit, to buy more real estate and buy more real estate sooner, because that has a compounding effect. The longer you own real estate, time is on your side. Fourth thing I did is maximize the tax benefits of real estate, which are like way above any other asset class and very exciting. I mean, using things like cost segregation, accelerated depreciation, just even normal depreciation and expensing. Like that's why there's a reason why we call cash flow tax-free income, because you should be having a positive cash flow on your property, but you're reporting a loss on that, so you're not paying any taxes on that. And that can be dramatic. That is dramatic, especially if you're offsetting taxable liability from other income sources, because taxes are the highest expense we're all going to encounter in our life. And if you can reduce that or eliminate that, that's just more money you can invest with. Fifth thing I did was add the right people to our team. So accountants and CPAs, attorneys, property managers, insurance agents, lenders, all these people were actually professional property investors that we added to our team. We didn't find the best people right away, but we built a network of advisors and professionals that helped us reach our goals. So hopefully that's a benefit, but those are the 5 things that really helped me be super successful over the past decade.
Absolutely. That's great. So one thing that you said is don't get into analysis paralysis mode, because I've seen, a lot of people, they start reading books, they start, listening to the podcast, but they never take action. They just hides behind the keyboard, do their own research for 6, 7 months, 8 months. They're maybe more afraid of taking actions. The thing is, they don't want to in the back of their mind, it goes on like, they don't want to lose the deal. They're waiting for the best deal to happen to them. And the other in top, in addition to what you said, right? The other thing is uh, they need to partner with someone who knows what they're doing. If they cannot do it by themselves, partner with someone, learn from them, learn from their mistakes, leverage their experience. And once you have done few deals along with your partner, you might get a confidence to do a deal by yourself.
Absolutely, that's huge. I mean, and I think it's important for people to recognize like every action or inaction has a consequence and has a risk profile. So, I mean, especially in high inflationary environments, like we talked about, like you got to get in the game, right? Whether that's partnering with someone, but if you're sitting on the sidelines because you're fearful or thinking you need to continue to educate yourself, there is no better education than hands-on. And yeah, look, over time, you probably will lose some money in rental real estate in the long term.
Yeah.
But if you don't start and accept that and just keep going, like you will make exponentially more than you just by continually investing and letting time do what it does with rental real estate. But yeah, you got to get in the game.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So Zach, ready for the final round of questions?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first one, which is the book that you'll recommend to the listeners, which has made the most impact in your life or your business?
Yeah. So of course, this isn't my final answer, but early on, just to state it. So Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously, and Cash Flow Quadrant. If you haven't read those, most people have. If you're probably listening to podcasts like this, make sure you do read that, or audiobook is good too. Just mindset about investing. But from running a business, I think, also Think and Grow Rich is another mindset one. But actually from running a business, the E-Myth, the entrepreneurial myth, or the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, I think that is like, probably the most impactful on not working in your business, but working on your business. And
I just completed reading it like third time last week.
I revisit it every year.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And then from a real estate side, I'll throw one more out there, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, founder of Keller Williams, largest real estate brokerage in the US. But really that's thinking about being like growing your real estate over time. I think that's huge.
Yeah. And it brings together, the thinking of maybe about 1,000 investors whom he interviewed, right? It brings together all the good golden nuggets or experience from all different investors.
Yeah, good. I mean, all those should be on the list. But I have to get books on audio because I can't. I have 2 young kids, and I can't sit down and read a book ever. So,
all right. So moving on to the next question, Zach, any situation that you came across and got over with a strong mindset? If you can bring that up to a listener.
So you're asking about a challenge and how I overcame that and maybe lessons learned. Yep. Is that right?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
So I talked about forming bad partnerships and losing money. It's interesting. In that scenario, I actually ended up meeting with someone else that was, also in the business and collaborating with them. And they were also someone that had lost money in this deal as well. But we were able to meet each other because of that experience and actually make that money plus some back. So you really never know, like this is a relationship business. But let me instead of focusing on that, talk about like getting into the first deal out of state and how to get over that mindset. I mean, I would say, because I think a lot of people would maybe this would resonate better, or they would relate to this a little bit better about like, hey, I'm concerned about investing out of state because all these what ifs, or not knowing how to get started. Like in rental real estate, there's nothing that is new out there. Everything's being redone. All the business ideas, they're already out there. There's maybe new iterations of them. Real estate investing is the longest form of investing because it's providing a human necessity. Mm-hmm. But just I would encourage people to think about, like, because the first few deals we bought out of state, we lost money on too. Bought in, like Southside Chicago. These were some from a local rehabber who rehab the properties and like made them look really great, but they were in bad neighborhoods. And so while he did a great job on the rehab, the tenants just teared them apart, right? And then we had to, do a $10,000 rent ready, turn on those. But I would say that my point is that view real estate investing as a holding place for your money. You really need to think of it that way. Yes, your cash flow can fluctuate, and yes, you may like the market fluctuates, but if you buy in the right locations and you have the right team in place, like, you should be able to, regardless of short-term fluctuations, rents and home prices go up over time. And so you should always be able to, exit that property at some point in time. Very, very seldom do people like really lose a lot of money in real estate unless they're buying speculative or they're like trying to rehab a house that goes south. But if you're just buying in good areas, let's view real estate like a bank. Now, granted, it's not super liquid, maybe more like a CD account if you had to, compared to something. But the upside is way better. I mean, if you don't know how to calculate things like appreciation and debt reduction and depreciation and all those things, like in addition to the cash flow, you got to look at that stuff. So I don't know, I'm going on a tangent, but hopefully that's a few nuggets of knowledge there.
Yeah, that sounds great, man. All right. One way you would like to give back to the world?
We give back in our active business by education. I mean, we have a lot of philanthropic efforts. As I mentioned previously, like my wife and I are still licensed optometrists. We still provide, like we do international cataract clinics and things like this. We just did one last year in Vietnam. And so, I mean, we love providing eye care, but on the real estate space, the biggest way we give back is by education. I operate our business today, not because I have to, but because I'm truly passionate about real estate. And there is nothing more rewarding to me than seeing an investor, get started, overcome their fears and obstacles, start investing, and then maybe they stop investing with us and go on to do their own thing, which is completely fine, or they continue to invest with us, but they come back and like, hey, looking back over these past 5 years, I remember when I couldn't even buy one property, and now, they got tens of thousands of dollars of passive income, and they're like, I just wanted to thank you, or, even if they don't say that, we just watch their progression and know that we positively influence their life because of that. And it's a gift that keeps on giving. Like that is rewarding to me is the education aspect.
Well, that's true. That's true. And the final question, how can Decoding Cash Flow listeners get in touch with you?
Mentioned this earlier, but just go to our website, rent2retirement.com. That's rent2retirement.com. Our 800 number is 1-800-311-6781. But I think if you just go to the website, that'll give you some information about us. We put out a lot of educational content about all things real estate, a lot of market data, a lot of information on how to be successful in short-term rentals and long-term rentals. And, if you want to do new construction, whatever the case is. And, we'd be happy to set up a consultation with you to go through your investment goals and criteria, help you to kind of build a plan. That's what it's all about, is mapping out a roadmap. When you're investing in real estate, you're building a business. I mean, and you need to approach it that way. Make sure you have the right LLC structure in place. Make sure you have the right lenders and insurance agents and the right team, right? I mean, the biggest value we offer to our community is like, we've spent the past decade plus building this network of people that would have helped us be successful. And you get to tap into that immediately. Whether you invest with us or not, we have to share resources with you. So, yeah.
That's good. So listeners, make sure to check out Zach's website. There's a lot of educational material over there. It will help you to take a next leap in the real estate investment world. Thanks, Jack. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. It was great talking to you. And thank you again.
Ted, pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Decoding Cash Flow, brought to you by Aster Capital. If you found value in this episode, then please share it with someone who you think could benefit from it. And make sure to act on what you've learned. If you want Ted Patel to personally help you reach your goals, then feel free to set up a one-on-one call with him. Also, visit us at astercapital.com for more free resources. Content of this podcast is for informational purposes only. As always, please consult your own advisor before making any investment decisions or setting a course of action. Thanks again for joining us on this episode of Decoding Cash Flow, and we'll catch you in the next episode.